After meeting with President Obama last week, leaders of Sierra Leone, Senegal, Malawi, and Cape Verde were invited to the U.S. Institute of Peace to discuss consolidating democratic gains and promoting African prosperity. Joining us now is my colleague Mariama Diallo, who was at the event. Mariama.
Well, Vincent, the four leaders are credited for making economic and political progress, and I was at the event to cover it.
It was in front of a crowd of hundreds that leaders of Malawi, Sierra Leone, Senegal, and Cape Verde spoke about the big gains their countries have made in the last few years. For the president of Malawi, Joyce Banda, the hardest thing was restoring relations with global financial institutions like the International Monetary Fund or the IMF.
By the time I became president, we were off track with IMF. And so we had to go very quickly, go back to IMF, get back on track, strengthen governance institutions, make sure that we get the letter of comfort that we required in order for other donors to come back, including the UK, that had cut out relationship with Malawi.
For Senegalese President Macky Sall, who's only been in power for about 12 months, it's been a year of economic and political reforms. It may be too early to evaluate the results. His agenda, he says, is still a work in progress. He spoke through an interpreter.
We're trying to improve AGOA. We're seeking to invest private investments at the international level. We're trying to strengthen the rule of law, to have an independent justice system.
But Mr. Sall also says that Africa is a continent on the move.
The Africa of 2013 has nothing to do with the cliches that are often expressed to talk about civil wars, where you talk about coups. But bear in mind, you had your own wars. You had the Civil War. There were wars in Europe up until 1945. Africa has just become independent for the most case since 1960. So it is normal that should be conflicts remaining here and there. In terms of the overall dynamic of the continent, we are moving towards prosperity, moving towards democracy.
Mr. Sall reminded the audience that Africa is the cradle of mankind and can be magical in terms of diversity, natural resources, and its men and women. His Sierra Leonean counterpart, EARNEST by Koroma, told the audience that his country is no longer the one of blood diamonds. Instead, it's become an investment destination.
Sierra Leone is the place to do business. This has been recognized by the World Bank, the IMF. Last year, our economy was referred to as the hottest economy, a place to do investment. And we registered a very high rate of growth.
Prime Minister Jose Maria Neves of Cape Verde believes it's the responsibility of African leaders to develop a clear strategy for the continent's future that takes advantage of all its assets. The island, located along the western coast of Africa, is said to be one of the most democratic nations in the region. But in order to sustain a democracy, Neves, who spoke through an interpreter, says certain things are needed.
There is no development without stability. There's no development without democracy.
He added that Africa still faces many challenges, but it's also the continent of the future.
It has enormous talent, enormous capabilities, and all we need to do is to really gather all this capacity, all this capability, all this talent, and make it work towards the development of Africa.
And these African leaders came to the United States this time not as beggars, they say. They came to show a new Africa, one that's looking for a true partnership where everyone will benefit.
Now, Mariama, can you give us a sense of why the four were invited?
Well, I mean, I looked at, I was actually struck by how young they were. I looked at, we can start with President Macky Sall, who was born in 1960. Basically, he joined the Marxist-Leninist Party back when he was maybe in his 20s. After that, he joined the Democratic Party in the 80s, the party that won elections in 2000 with President Abdoulaye Wade. With Abdoulaye Wade, he became, he held many jobs.
Let's say this. So this is like a new crop of leadership. I quickly want you to say, why do they come as a group? Why are they brought in as a group?
Well, they were invited as a group, although that has created some controversy in Africa because they always feel like that the American president actually invites them as a group. And some people are saying that African countries should be considered as one, meaning like as each country is as important as America, not as a group. But the other side is also saying that, hey, you know, an invitation is an invitation. The president of the United States invited you guys to come as a group. So look at the positive side. You were able to meet him. You were able to discuss.
Thank you, Mariama. We have more on Straight Talk Africa tomorrow, isn't it? Thank you very much.
We absolutely have more on Straight Talk tomorrow.
Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.